Peace be with you. In this video, I'm going to be talking about the power of language and why the pen is mightier than the sword. We're going to talk about the word terrorism. The official definition of the word is the unlawful use of violence and intimidation, especially against civilians in the pursuit of political aims. Now, although I just read the official definition of the word terrorism, I want to point out that this is a useless definition that doesn't really mean anything. It doesn't really mean anything because it starts with the unlawful use of violence. Well, who decides what lawful use of violence is? The people in power, the people who have the means to maintain power. So if we hold on to that standard, then the rich person, the person with power, can never be a terrorist. In reality, what the word terrorist is just another way to mark someone or something as the bad guy. That's all it is. It really serves no other purpose. It is a label used to demonize, nothing more. It doesn't really describe anything. All war is based on fear and terror. Therefore, the only distinction in war of who the terrorist is depends on who holds the power and who is defined as the bad guy. That's ultimately what it is. This is what the news does for us out here in the West and even throughout the world. They use words such as this in order to manufacture the victim and the villain. The villain is always called a terrorist, while the victim, whoever the media determines is the victim, is given an excuse to do whatever it wills, even kill thousands of children by indiscriminately bombing them. Let me give you a modern-day example of how this works. There were people living peacefully in the Middle East for some 70 years ago, and then ships full of European immigrants started arriving. Eventually, the land was overtaken by the European immigrants, and the people who were just living there, minding their own business, they did not go anywhere and steal anybody's land. They were just living and existing there. Even though their land was stolen, they were blamed. And when they fought back, they were labeled as terrorists, while the real terrorists, people who came to someone else's land and stole their homes and murdered their children, got to label themselves as victims. So the victims were labeled with a word that we use to label people who are wrong, people who we are taught to hate and oppose. So once these victims were labeled with that word, any resistance to oppression became illegitimate because now they have been vilified. While the other side, the one that came to the land and stole the land through violence and intimidation and threats of genocide, they were somehow labeled as the victim, and once they were labeled as the victim, they got all the power. They have the power to do anything. They can kill children because they are a victim, supposedly, and they do so indiscriminately. This is why the pen is mightier than the sword. Two words, terrorist and victim, give all the power or take away all the power. If you are labeled as a terrorist, then you can do no right. You have no right to even defend yourself. While if you are labeled as the victim, you have all the power. You can burn, kill, pillage, do whatever you want. And support is expected. This is why. Power is just given by words. Yes, it is enforced by weapons, but it is imparted by words. Peace be with you.